Hello, welcome. My name is Allison Casado, and I am an art teacher in an international school in Beijing, China. And today I'm here to provide you with a little instruction on how to have your students create a tutorial using a medium that is their favorite, something they feel proficient at, that they can instruct well. So I teach students on using a British curriculum, and my freshmen and sophomores go through a 2-year IGCSE program. And in those 2 years, they develop a portfolio that is based on, it begins with a theme that they brainstorm about, and then they find artists that they want to research and learn more about, whose artwork might fall under that theme, or maybe it is the medium of that artwork that they are really passionate about, but for whatever reason they choose to study those artists, and then they use that to develop some experiments, and then they experiment with different media and come up with some finalized works of art, and then they develop a plan based on all of this. This plan is for their final work of art. The final work of art should be something that is personal and expresses the theme clearly, and also this entire, they have to turn in all of this research, experimentation, etc., to show their development and growth throughout these 2 years to prove that they have met all of the components of the rubric and have grown and increased their artistic abilities through the IGCSE program. Part of what I wanted to do with having them create their own tutorials is to create a piece of work that they can use in their portfolio that is based on a primary source. Some of them did that and some of them did not. And I also wanted them to be able to show that they are proficient at a specific media, and it kind of gave me also an insight into what it is that they are hoping to accomplish and what more they need to know about their chosen media. And it also helped them and helped me to create or establish some tutorials, like a little library of tutorials that these students and future students can go and look back on to learn more about a tool that they might be interested in. For instance, one of the students is really interested in using Blender and creating 3D renderings. And I'm not proficient at that. I took one class in like 1996, and things are so different now. It is not something that is a strong suit for me. So he is not only finding it to be a strong suit for himself, he is very passionate about it. He gets the math behind it. He gets the animation behind it. He is able to actually also create a tutorial that's pretty dead on for instructing. So without further ado, I'm going to give you some little bits and pieces. First, I'm going to show you how I created their assignment, and then I'm going to show you a few examples. I won't be able to take you into the full examples. They're quite extensive, and we have some child protection things in place here that don't allow me to include the volume or names, but you'll get the basic idea of what's going on, and hopefully it will give you some ideas and inspire some great little lessons from yourselves. All right, so here we are. We're in Teams, and this is what an assignment looks like. So I'm under the Assignments tab for this class. I've got my headline right here, the due date, step by step what I want them to do, which includes choosing a medium that they feel they are good at and can do from home. I did have them send me in a chat beforehand which medium that would be, so that I had some idea of what they were doing, and if I thought they were doing something completely out of their league, then I would steer them in a different direction. Then I gave them some options on how they could deliver their tutorial. I said you could do a video with narration, you could do a video with a screen share, so the first video could just be of them working on their table. Then there's screen share if they're doing something digitally, a video from a slideshow where they've got the slideshow going, and then maybe they're narrating, or maybe they are having a scroll, and then a slideshow with a live presentation that they could perform or do, present once they return to the classroom, which they have now done. Then I told them to also try to choose a primary source, so something that they're looking at as they are working and creating their end goal product. Not all of them were able to do that, and that's okay. We had some successes regardless, but I do encourage primary sources because it is something that Cambridge really looks for in their portfolios. So then I asked them to do a script or step-by-step instructions, and I also asked them to check it against the rubric to make sure that they are including everything that they need to. So here's the rubric up here. I also asked them to give me their maybe their first draft or their step-by-step instructions beforehand so that I could give them some feedback, give them some things to make corrections to, which many of them did. Again, not everybody did. I'm sure there is no surprise there. And then to turn it in, and then we present them. So we were able to present them. They were all, not all, but most of them were turned in by the time we returned to school. Again, not all of my students are back in school because not all of them are back in the country. So we have been presenting them in class with a screen share going and a recorded lesson happening at the same time for the students who are online. So if they are live and if they're near to the same time zone and able to watch live, then they can do that, and if not, then they can watch the recording later. Because I do have some students who are in the United States on the East Coast where it is a 12-hour time difference. So when we have class at 3 o'clock here, it is 3 a.m. there, and I do not expect them to be awake. So here's the rubric. Really basic. I'll make some changes to it now that I've done this once. So you can see I told them to keep it under 15 minutes if possible. Not all of them did. Some went to much longer. Some were much shorter. To be clear, to make sure that it's clear to understand, to have a work of art as an outcome, include the step-by-step instructions, right? So we made sure to go over that as well. Let's take a look at some examples. All right, so this one was origami, step-by-step, clear as can be, really nicely done. So just this, you've seen origami step-by-step instructions before. She went ahead and she did like photographs of each step, and even where she was not sure how to say certain things, she's just like, just look at the pictures. Should touch here, but wasn't quite sure how to say it. And then she did not present this live, but what she did was I gave all of the students a square sheet of paper beforehand, and we went through, and each of them followed along. And she was in the classroom, and she walked around and helped them all once. You know how origami is, when you get towards the end, it gets a little complicated. So she was working around to help each and every one of them towards the end. No worries, we have hand sanitizer in the classroom, and everyone had on a mask. So yes, we are still working with that. And so yeah, we had our final outcome, and everyone ended up with a box that looked just like this. Not the same color, but just like that. So that was good success, even though there was no primary source to work from. This one was super cool. So this student, as you can see, it's 37 minutes long, but he went above and beyond in his explanations. You can actually split this up into multiple lessons or tutorials. He starts off showing students how to make how to use a 3D rendering, how to use Blender, I should say, to sculpt and render things. So he begins by making a table, and then from there he deletes it, which always pains me, and he makes a stool, And he shows you how to use the things on the side, the stuff on the bottom, things that I don't know how to do. He took them through the math of how to make certain things happen. He explained layers quite well. He gets really, really involved in how to do each and every little bit of this. So it really was very impressive. He, again, as I said, this could be broken up into multiple tutorials because he really gets into lots of different little projects. But then his end goal is to create, just zoom through it, to create a lantern. And he even renders it at the tail end with a little bit of animation going on. This is his passion. He loves 3D modeling, 3D sculpting. And so that is the Blender tutorial. Quite well done. This one, let's see, what have we here? So because of our child protection policies, I'm making sure not to use any volume. Oh, okay, so this one was done with drawing with charcoal in mind. And so he sets up his own still life and he goes through all of these steps, which is really cool. And he is an English language learner. And so for him, it was helpful to, one, narrate, and two, have the scroll of English on the bottom. This really helped him a great bit. I think one thing that I gave him multiple pieces of feedback and he went back and made changes, but I think the last bit would be to slow down the scroll because it is hard, even for myself, to read it at that speed. So that was that one. That was also pretty successful. And we also had a graphite pencil drawing. Oh, you can see my edits in the background there. All right, so this student is not in class with us. She's stuck in Thailand. Drawing. And so she did, where you can see all of the steps that she's doing with her graphite pencil. And she started with her primary source. So this works really well. She shows how to blend pencil. And she does have some shadows here. She was late turning it in. I do have some tips for her, but I'm impressed that she was able to get this done and not be on site. So I think that's all that I wanted to show you. There are a couple more, but these were the most diverse. I'll stop here and get back to presenting. So as you can see, I had some really clever submissions, and they are still coming in. We are still working in a blended capacity. I still have students stuck abroad and students now here in the classroom, but we are going to continue with regular classes as normal, working with students online at the same time and for a couple more weeks before summer happens. And in that time, I hope to get the rest of those submissions. So the key components to doing this, to set up a lesson, make sure that you have it written out exactly how you want it. So one of the things that I find helpful when I am delivering a lesson to my students, whether they're online or in person, I mean, even when I have my classes all in person, I still like to have all of my lessons scripted somewhere where they can access them at all times. So we've been using Teams for this reason. Since long before COVID, our students were already very well informed and aware and capable of using this. We have a bring your own device policy here at school, so they're all able to, they've always been able to access everything online as well as in class. And those students who had the 37-minute long tutorials and were not able to put them into the assignments posted online, they were able to find clever solutions for those problems and send them to me in a chat. But yeah, make sure you script it, have step-by-step instructions. If you want to do a Canva and make it really clever, like a clever little flyer with like the basic outline, you can do that as well. Students really like that. I just haven't had the time to pull it all together. And then also give a delivery face-to-face, because not everyone is going to be able to read those instructions and take them and go for it, right? It helps to give examples. If you've never done a tutorial, do one, so that you can show them an example, create a script for it. I think it really helps them to also process through the step-by-step. Like, there are steps to how all of these things work the best. And once they have to sit down and do it, then they start to understand why the teacher is actually teaching it in the way that he or she is doing this. And they gain a little bit of an appreciation for that. And as freshmen, I think that's important, because they're still at a place in their life where, you know, they know everything and they don't always want to listen. But maybe once they've done the instructing, they become a little bit more appreciative of the person who is instructing and the reason behind the instruction. It helps also if you are, if you hand out everybody a rubric. This I found has been helpful. Hand everyone a rubric, maybe print it out or have it online, where they can go through while watching all of the tutorials. They can go through the rubric, they can self-grade, they can grade peer review. I also had my students take notes during each one to write down any feedback that they might have, anything that they saw that was positive, any questions they had to make the students think a little bit harder or longer about their process, or what it was that they were trying to accomplish. And yeah, it also helps them to see and remember what it is that they are being graded for. So when the grade comes, they're not confused as to why they didn't get an A star. Which is a thing in IGCSE, that A star, or A plus, or whatever you want to call it. We don't stop at A's here. So I believe that's it. I'm wrapping up. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. You can send me a request on Facebook. You can send me a question in this chat. Whatever you do, I will do my best to get back to you as quickly as possible. Because of my location, it's not always very easy for me to hop on Facebook, but I do my best, and I will always do my best to get back to you. Okay, signing out from Beijing, Allison Casado. Bye, everybody. I hope you're having a great summer conference.